Welcome again to Coffee with Cadro. We're in Ibiza today with David Leppan. WorldCheck became the global risk intelligence database, used by over 5,500 banks in 140 countries and 250 government agencies. David, thank you so much for welcoming us to your lovely home. So let's take it right back to South Africa. You were born there. What was your childhood like there? What did that look like?
You know, South Africa in the 1970s, I think for a white child was quite a blissful existence where everything was stacked in your favor. It's quite interesting that your very early years are very much years where you see no difference and you're outdoors in the garden playing with other children. And then you reach sort of the age of 5 and you're sent off to school. At which point, depending on your color, you were directed in one direction or another. And again, I got lucky. My parents could afford to put me into a private school, which in those days was multiracial. And so I had this rather enchanted life far away from the city, in the countryside, yet still very militarized. All of this was to prep us ultimately at the age of 18 to go into the military conscription.
Did you feel that there was potentially an entrepreneur in the making in those rebellious days?
My grandfather, he had grown up in an orphanage, and at the age of 15 you kind of get booted out. He had nowhere else to go. He went into the gold mines. An environment where people of all color and all race worked together. You know, the poor were mixed. And I don't believe he saw a difference between people because of that experience. My father grew up in a very humble, house. And so then I come along and suddenly, my parents have done quite well, but my roots are very humble. I was a rebel with a cause. So The moment I saw anything that was just grossly unfair, I felt compelled to revolt.
You could almost say it was entrepreneur in training, because you're actually questioning what the general consensus is and why should I be doing that? I might actually have a look at doing something slightly different.
Yeah.
So at 18, you packed up and you moved to Europe. What was the main driver that prompted that move?
I just thought, I'm not going to go into the military. Everything is changing. Mandela's been released. I don't want to be the last able-bodied, white male conscripted into this, racist machine. I don't want to be killing people, and I don't want to be killed either. And at that point, I was lucky enough to have been granted something of a sort of scholarship and exchange program, and left the country for Austria, principally for a year. And then things didn't change as quickly as we thought they might. Yeah. It took another couple of years before we had our first free democratic elections. And so I just ended up staying in Austria.
WorldCheck became the global risk intelligence database. How the hell did that happen?
You have this combination of having some sales experience and speaking German, thanks to everything that had come before. I landed a job at Thomson Financial Publishing, and we are selling data to the correspondent banking division, so the payments division within international banks. And I am given Switzerland, Austria, Liechtenstein, as my territory because of the language. Thanks to that, it meant I was interacting with Swiss bankers a couple of years in, that they get into trouble for banking stolen billions by the Nigerian military dictator, General Abacha. They turn, and I say they, it was a handful of banks that all turned to me on the same business trip and say, do you know what we really need? What we really need is an early warning system. Could you build a database of all of the world's politicians and their family members, so that when an individual arrives in Zurich or Geneva and they give us the rosy-colored version of events in their lives and why they are looking to deposit this money, that we can go somewhere else and check what they're not telling us.
So you said you didn't come from a tech background, so was it just that you wanted to invent something new?
So didn't finish university. I have no tech background. I didn't know how to do it technically, but I could envisage how we could go about doing this. And the industry had never had an online database that they could check. It didn't exist, right, 26 years ago. So the first phone call is to my wife, I was still married at the time, to get her permission. The second phone call is to my mother, who had retired early and was the fastest typist I knew, and she would work for Love, which was going cheap, at the time. So I give her a very quick overview, and then I've got to go into my next meeting with a bank called Julius Baer. An hour later, I come out of the meeting, call her back, and she'd already started a spreadsheet. Quite literally, the seed for all of this is a Nigerian military man who had stolen billions. And my mom, having retired early, desperate for something fun, interesting, invigorating to do. And so we start building this thing.
And was there one moment where you thought, this is it, I've arrived?
It's when bank number 5 or 6, one of the world's largest banks at the time, says, okay, fine, we'll take X number of users, and that's your first 6-figure contract. Right? That I've always referred to as the oh moment, because the oh moment is where there's no going back. At this point, you now have to deliver, right? And suddenly it's like, okay, now the game is on. Then it gets real quickly. And then 9/11 take place, and suddenly we get catapulted from being this very quiet, small operation for a handful of Swiss banks to global institutions all needing highly structured data. They all need to start doing know your customer, due diligence, checking. My intention at university had been to work for the United Nations. We'd done a uni trip up to Vienna, got there, and I'd taken one look at the people we were meeting with and thought, this is never going to work. They all look incredibly frustrated by what's happening. Maybe this is not for me. Roll forward just a few years, the Asian tsunami, and vast amounts of money are donated by citizens all over the world, right? And the United Nations is tasked with handing this money out to those that need it, but they need to make sure that none of this money ends up in the wrong hands. And they turn to me and they sort of say, well, would you consider donating, your services? Of course, immediately, gifted. And that was so successful that the UN then came back and said, we would love to have a perpetual license to this. We would love to incorporate this in a lot of other projects that we do. And I said, sure, by all means. You've got to really be clear with yourself. There are moments where things are going to be presented to you and you're suddenly going to say, doesn't feel quite right, but I'm still going to blunder on. No, you've got to really accept the message when it comes to you and say, this is maybe not the path that I need to go. Because you never know when, at some point just down the line, you could play an even more important role. I had intended to work for them, and I had ended up working with them.
And did you see much risk attached to what you were building?
It's curious, I'm a Taurus, my star sign. So we are not generally perceived as being very spontaneous. And yet, within 3 hours of meeting my ex-wife, I proposed to her. And so I think there are moments in your life where you have everything to lose and you need to take that step. And the more aligned you are with your path, with the life that you should be living, the less friction. When you become truly aligned, it's kind of like being on a bicycle in the middle of a 4-lane highway. You're not zigzagging through your life. You're just going straight down the middle.
Thinking about the final milestone of WorldCheck, what was the part that you were most proud of?
I think, there came a point where I needed to recognize that I had no experience, other than the one I was having at that present moment, in running an organization that was now delivering mission critical, information. Literally every bank account being opened at 49 of the 50 biggest banks on the planet were being run against our databases. And I think this is also an incredibly important lesson, is to know your parameters, to know what you're capable of. And the letting go of something like this, the way I looked at it was that, like a parent, there comes a point where there's not much more you can give to a child. They need to go off to university for others to teach them things that you're not able to. And so the letting go of the first business was really to allow others to take it to the next level. And came and took a bit of time to be with my kids and to travel less. I wanted to slow everything down again and just make sure that I could still remember who I was, without this company.
You now help people defend their reputations. What pulled you to that side of the story?
It was 10 years with WorldCheck, and then 10 years went past without WorldCheck. You sort of reach a point where you start to reflect on what you had set out to do and consider whether you had had the impact that you had intended to have. And in realizing that we hadn't achieved what we'd wanted to do, that kind of caused me to go back in to the industry.
You've said in the past that compliance has become a monster. Do you feel that the industry's completely lost its purpose now?
Much of what we did was to hold others accountable. I equally had to hold the industry that I'd pioneered accountable. And that was an important point, was to realize that something that you had put in motion had lost its way and had become a monster. And I didn't wish to have that legacy. And as we hurtle not only towards, but we're already in it, an age of artificial intelligence, I grow more and more concerned that dirty data that contains baseless allegations, when that information finds its way into highly structured databases, and those databases are supplied not just to the financial industry, but to many government agencies, and they find their way into AI, people's reputations will be ruined for life. And we are going to end up in a place where individuals are going to be denied access to fill in the blank on the basis that a system, a computer, says no. The loss of data integrity married to a data permanence that we now have means that you will not be able to correct information when it's wrong about you.
And also more relevant now is, how do you protect someone's identity in a world that's increasingly artificial?
As we move into a new existence with artificial intelligence and being able to create video and content that will look and sound just like you, I think identity theft is going to continue to increase, dramatically in time to come. And I worry about that, although it's a difficult one to combat. But what I know I can fight is the loss of data protection rights that we have. Identity theft is one issue, but I think even bigger than that is just how easily, with tech and with the right data that provides the right insight, we can influence the way people think and what they think, and their political positions, and therefore the outcomes of elections. And certainly I have to stand up and make sure that there is transparency around the industry that I created. Today the financial industry spends around $260 billion per annum on compliance. We're not seeing convictions. It's not like 25 years on, there's 1,000 more convictions for money laundering, or bribery, right? Or that the numbers are down, on any of these things. None of them are. And yet our lives have been made considerably more complicated for the average citizen. When you think that 99.8% of the UK citizens are not involved in any criminal activity, 99.8%. So why are we focusing so much on putting 99.8% of the population through such strict compliance regimes, instead of focusing all of that attention on the 0.2%?
So what was the idea behind creating Billionaire Magazine? Was it redefining what wealth should represent?
Because of the fact that bad people existed, we had a business. And I said it was time for us to start giving back. And so we sponsored 50 orphans through SOS Children's Villages. So already on our 5th anniversary as a business, we were already publicizing this, literally our landing page. Every single banker that came to the service that had to log on saw a great big banner. Roll forward a few years, and I sort of start to ask myself, we've got all of these new billionaires, And they're all trying to figure out which restaurants to eat in, which schools to send their kids to, which neighborhoods to live in, etc. And equally, they were starting to think about legacy and what do we give back and what is my contribution, beyond having sold a really great idea for gazillions, to Microsoft or to Apple. And I wondered if we could teach the new wealthy how to be philanthropic, how to give back. And the idea was, let's start a publication, a magazine, something very beautiful that would easily sit on private jets, or could be sent to individuals and they wouldn't bin it, they'd actually keep them. And could we showcase a combination of artists and artisans as well as philanthropy, sustainability? Could we wrap all of this together and make a publication that people would want to read with imagery that they hadn't seen elsewhere before, no stock imagery? And so we started this and we launched it at the Global Citizens concert in New York City. I was the first backer of the concert. And so, there is a thread that runs through what we've done, and that follows through WorldCheck right into the magazine as well, and then on to, organizations like Global Citizen.
So Los Patios, a decade in the making, a members club with a difference, about community, creativity. Tell me about that journey.
The world that we are now in and moving deeper into, community is going to be everything. I was aware that for non-natives, many of us have chosen to call this place home, but we don't have a platform upon which to build our community. And I realized that I was jumping on planes to go to London or Paris out of season, simply looking for a bit of vibe, just give me a little bit of energy, because out of season the island can be, very quiet. And so the purpose was really, could I create a space where I no longer was damaging the environment by jumping on a plane for no good reason, when I could have a vibrant conversation, where I could get a bit of a cultural, fix. And we could do that on the island. I have to say, it's probably been one of the most frustrating, slow projects I have ever worked on, ever.
You've self-funded, I take it?
Yes,
right.
Yeah, I used to have hair when I started this. The property is actually 2,500 years old. It's one of the oldest Phoenician farms on the island. So it's existed far longer than the registry, which meant it wasn't registered. I never would have thought that it would have been as complicated as it was. When I walk around the space, I remind myself that it's been there 2,500 years. And that if it's taken me 10 years to renovate it and to elevate it, that really is no time at all.
So David, now we come to the quick fire round. It's just a few questions. Just want the first answer that comes into your head. Ibiza then or now, which felt more real?
Then.
Should art be protected and locked up, or should it be lived with?
Lived with, absolutely.
Dinner guest, the Dalai Lama, Elon Musk, or an 18-year-old yourself?
Definitely not Elon Musk, that's for sure, who's a countryman and somebody I met years ago. The Dalai Lama I think would be fascinating, but I think it would be an 18-year-old me.
I know you like your rituals. For your moments of calm, what would be your favorite?
Definitely the sunrise swim, which I do every day.
Every day?
Every day, all year.
Down here?
Either in the pool or in Cala Olivera. Yeah,
amazing.
I do that every day.
Through the winter?
Through the winter.
Amazing. What's worth more to you, the success you've had or the lives you've touched?
The lives I've touched.
When your kids look back one day, what do you hope they'll smile about most?
My hope is that if they haven't already, that they will come to appreciate having been allowed to be who they are. We carry, trauma from our childhoods and generations before us, and breaking that cycle, is the most important thing, you could possibly do.
Thank you so much for talking to us with such openness and honesty. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.